Another thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up is the foundation, which was founded in 1995. What was the thought behind starting a foundation?
This goes to the first question and second question you asked me, Ling, that the fundamentals of any family business should be on how you can give back. Our core motto for our group is touching lives every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean only by way of products and services. It most importantly also means touching your lives and how you are moving, because everyone is not fortunate. People go through difficult times, the world goes through difficult times, and it's in those times that a group's fundamentals and its emotions and attachment to the society and its people comes to the forefront. And we were always with that mindset to give back. But I think what completely changed, or what became even more evident, was at the earthquake in 2015, when literally Nepal was sent back to its stone age, as I would call it. People lost their lives, people lost livelihood, they lost their just everything in 2015, and we had to be in the forefront. And that's what we did. And since then, we've never looked back. I mean, every crisis that happens in this country, we are, CG can proudly say that we are always the first ones to take the first step on how we can give back and how we can, let's say, hold the bull by its horn and make sure that we support and help our people.
At the time when the earthquakes happened, didn't your father say that no matter what, we are not leaving this country, we're staying back to help?
Absolutely. It was I clearly remember that meeting with the family, Ling, and my father and myself and my elder brother Nirvana, we were actually at our safari lodge in Chitwan when the earthquake happened. The biggest brunt of the earthquake actually came to my mother and my wife, who were actually in the city, in Kathmandu, because Kathmandu was the worst hit, right? Away from the epicenter. And I remember us driving back to the capital, and my dad held a meeting with the family. And, all of us were debating, what should we do? Oh, there's an earthquake that's happening every 2 hours. We keep getting the shaking of the earthquake all the time. We were discussing ideas. We have our homes all over the world. Maybe we should go away. We were all discussing. We never said that we were going to do that. But then my father said that, no, this is the time when we all have to remain together. This is the time when our own people, CG, its own family, of our stakeholders and our employees need us, including the country. And we are going to be here, and tomorrow itself, we are going to start a drive by going to the most remote areas and reaching out to the people with need. And I remember my wife and I, every single individual, went to the most remote areas around the country to distribute food, tents, torches, whatever we could, because there's only so much you could do. And we did that. And we are very, very happy that we did that. And we've stuck with that principle always. Even let's say during COVID, we could have literally gone to a country where vaccine is easily available or life is much better, like Dubai, right? Dubai has been literally up and down, but it's been open virtually since the whole COVID. I could have done that. We all could have done that, but we never did that. We stayed here. We've gone through it with our people. We are willing to do that also all our lives because we owe it to them.
And speaking of COVID, when was the first time you heard about it and you realized that it could have very severe implications for your own personal life and also your operations around the world?
March 19th, 2020, when the government made that announcement that COVID has come and the country is going to be shut down. I mean, none of us knew what COVID is, right? We were all going into an uncharted territory, knowing that there is a pandemic. There is no doubt about that. But what really changed my thinking, I will tell you, and this is the biggest value add that you get from a boarding school and interacting in colleges. My father also said this, that his biggest resource in life and his biggest wealth is his network, not his net worth. I remember the week after the 19th, we have our group, my batchmates, we are about 76 of us that graduated the Doon School in India in 2001. So we all decided to set up a call just to share ideas of what is happening in their part of the world. They're all over the world. So it was very interesting to me that everyone was sharing their views of what they had to deal with or what they were dealing with in their part of the world at that point. And that came to me, that this is not something that is going to be here for the short run. It is going to be here for the long run, and one must prepare for it. And what better way to get feedback? My friends are literally in 34 countries around the world. That covers all the continents around the world. And these guys are in different spheres of life. Doctors, professional spheres, financial institutions, entrepreneurs, sportsmen, travelers, bloggers, startups, all spheres of life. Each of them had a fundamental thing to say. That right from the guy who's a hawker stand all the way to Bill Gates is being affected by this pandemic. And this pandemic is not going to go for any time soon. And here we are sitting today, Ling, almost 1.5 years later. You and me were discussing before this call that things are even getting tougher. And yesterday in the news, I saw about India preparing for the third wave. Nepal is in its second wave, now going into the third wave. Kenya is already crossing its third wave. Some countries are in its fourth and fifth wave. So that call really changed my mindset that everyone is speaking the same language. And I recall that dinner also on the 29th or 30th of March, 2020. I told my father that, trust me, this is what I have discussed with my schoolmates, and we need to prepare ourselves for the long run. We should prepare ourselves with a three-pronged strategy: survival, revival, and thrival. That should be the strategy that we should adopt. And immediately we have to relook at the business model of all our operations, whether it's food, whether it is hospitality, whether it is telecom, whether it is electronics, whatever it is, cement, hydropower, whatever. We have to look at it from the point of view that now technology is going to take the forefront of everyone's life, and disruption is going to take the forefront. We have to evaluate our business from the perspective whether we are going to even be existent in 10 years from now, and from the perspective that how are people going to continue their businesses and survive by way of technology. You've seen that technology has made the world this small when it was this big before. So that's when our entire process of restructuring our cost structure, reimagining our business models, rethinking our strategies, all of these came into the forefront. And I would like to say, and with all sense of humility and modesty, that all that we did right at the beginning has helped us now survive, and we continue doing so. Otherwise, we would not be able to even stand up or be with you right now and having this interview. And I can tell you, Ling, that I always say this to my wife and my father, that I have actually never worked so hard in my life as I have done since March last year. And then, yes, it has more been in terms of Zoom, which has also made things very efficient and very productive. Not saying that it should happen all the time, because personal meetings are also very important. But the point I'm trying to tell you is that so much time and energy has gone to get this to come to this survival mode. And we were just getting into revival at the end of last year. But now we are back to survival mode all over again. And I foresee that this is going to take some time. But you know what? As we all say, don't try and control something that you can't control. Try and control something of what you have control over. That's what we are trying to do here.
You said you made some changes to the business model, and I would say very successfully. Like Vivanta is profitable. The farm is, you've said before, doing even better than before. What were the changes that you introduced that allow them to thrive in this time when most hotels can't even open?
3 different things, Ling, very simply. One would be the cost structures. The cost structures that you were operating with pre-COVID, there is no way you can survive with the same cost structures. Absolutely no way. So you had to look at efficient ways to reduce your costs, efficient ways to have engagement with your institutions and vendors. It is the first time, I can tell you, where every single party to a business came together. In the hotel business, I'll tell you, from vendors to your banks, to your customers, to your operators, to your owners. Everyone came together because one cannot survive without the other. And everyone had to make compromises in order to survive. And they did that from the cost structures point of view. Number 2, your business model. When you talk about Vivanta itself, let me talk about that itself. We were never a F&B hotel. We were an F&B hotel, but we never used to do delivery. I survived the entire COVID by way of F&B, by delivery. My F&B revenue was 85% of my total revenue every month. Third is with regards to being able to tap a completely different market which was non-existent or not our focus. Take the example of the farm as well as the Vivanta itself. Local market was not my focus. even the farm. I never targeted on the local market because we felt they could not pay or afford to pay the prices. The whole year I've survived because of locals. It's amazing how much the locals are able to pay given the option of being able to stay there. They had no option, right? Everyone wants to take a holiday. Everyone wants to stay at a world-class hotel. Everyone is shifting towards wellness and food. Everyone is shifting to well-being. And that's what we offered. And that's what the local market gave you. So we've opened a completely different market altogether for ourselves. And I can tell you that leisure, wellness, experiential, these three markets are going to take the forefront of hospitality for years to come coming forward, I can tell you.
And what is next for you and for CG Hospitality? Is Vision 2025 still present?
Absolutely. Vision of 2025 is still very much present and active and in process. Obviously, in terms of our plans, some may have been delayed, some may have been put aside, but we are very much on target towards our vision itself. We continue to look at investment opportunities. We continue to look at ways to grow our current businesses. So we are very much on target towards that goal, Ling.
We have spoken so much about your family and how it's influenced what you are doing. What are the strengths and challenges of bearing the Chaudhary legacy?
The strength is also the biggest challenge, and I'll tell you why. Strength is something that what all our past generations have created for us, a system, a reputation. That is the most important that has been created by our forefathers and continues to do so in terms of our reputation in the global arena. I would say the businesses and the platform that has already been set. I think the biggest challenge would be for us, as everyone would say, to bear not the burden, I would say to be able to keep up and wear my father's shoes. I think that would be the biggest challenge for us to be able to achieve. But I think that three of us together hopefully will be able to make him proud and be able to fill his shoes.
Is there anyone in your industry that's doing something you admire, and why is that?
Well, I would say that I do admire lots of entrepreneurs. I wouldn't say specifically towards a certain sector of business. I would say someone like your Ratan Tata from Tata Son. I mean, he's a huge inspiration to me. And seeing what is his philosophy of life and yet running one of the most ethical and the most successful businesses in India is just phenomenal, and how he has done it. I would also say, when you're talking about, I would say role model, I would say my father in itself. My father as Binod Chaudhary, not as my father. I mean, we have a lot to learn from where he came from and where he is today. That has taught us a lot in life in terms of balancing all aspects of life itself. And third, I would say from the perspective of giving back and taking care of people, as well as making you believe the importance of being happy. Our Guru Sri Ravi Shankar from Art of Living. I mean, he has a very big bearing and very big influence in our lives, That's why I wanted to state the three people. One is from the perspective of the vision of how one can take a company from where it is to where it should be. That would be Mr. Ratan Tata and my father. And one person like Sri Ravi Shankar, who brings about the aspect that success is not only monetary, it is other things as well: family, well-being, personal attention. It is your happiness, peace, and that all these are fundamentals to your wholesome and a happy life.
And before we wrap up, is there anything you believe in that you feel most people don't?
Again, this is touching upon the fundamentals of the first and second question again. I believe that lots of families in our generation now tend to forget where they came from, and they tend to forget that they have a responsibility towards the legacy that has been created, and they have a responsibility towards the future generation. And a legacy is created for continuity. A legacy is created for passing it on to the future generations. A legacy and history is created so that your future generations can also grow up learning those fundamentals so that the foundations are very strong. I mean, I feel in a way that and that is actually also my fear, Because I believe that as generations keep getting built, I believe that there is that risk of this being lost in translation somewhere. And it's very important that we take on the responsibility to create that bridge and continuity year after year. People do take things for granted, and I think people are too dependent on technology and digitization. They end up forgetting the fundamentals and core of life in itself. And maybe I'm a party to that sometimes as well, but I'm working on it. And I hope I'm able to balance that out.
So speaking of legacy, have you thought about your own legacy and what kind of legacy you would want to leave behind?
I think I am a part of a family, proud so, a Nepalese family, of the only multinational Nepalese family. And we want to continue that legacy. We all know our path, whether it is from business or giving back or from our family and the continuity. We want to continue growing our horizon all over the world. We want to continue being able to be called. I mean, everyone should feel proud. Every Nepalese around the world should feel proud to say that there is a company that is a multinational and is in that platform. We started off the first company ever to hoist our flag in our hotel in Taj JLT. And every time a Nepali passes that hotel, whether it's a taxi driver, whether it is an entrepreneur, whether it is a customer, he looks at that flag and proudly says that that is my country's flag. And that flag has been put by the CG group, which is a Nepali group. And nothing gives us more joy and satisfaction when we hear that feeling. Appreciation is the most satisfying parameter for a success of a company. And appreciation comes in various different ways, whether you give back, whether you create something, whether you do something with people, many ways to do it. And our purpose is to continue on that mission.
Wasn't there a taxi driver who told your dad that hotel belongs to a Nepali, not knowing that your father put that flag out there?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I mentioned in the last question as well. I mean, just imagine, and I'm saying this with all, again, sense of modesty and humility. Here is the only billionaire from Nepal. And this will tell you the whole fundamentals of family business and of an entrepreneur who has not forgotten his roots and who has not forgotten where he comes from and has built that foundation of respect and trust for others and continues to grow. I mean, you see my father traveling in a taxi in Dubai with a Nepali who's showing him the flag which he hoisted and telling him, I am so proud. You see that flag? That is my flag created by a Nepalese company. Now, I hope that can easily sum up to you what we are trying to do as CG and what we as individuals of the Chaudhary family are aspiring to do. I hope this in a nutshell summarizes our entire interview.
Yes. And do you feel like you have found your why?
I believe so. I feel from a business point of view, I think I've stated that in many of the questions that you have always asked me. I would say even finding my why from a personal point of view and family point of view also, I think I have found that. Most importantly, I would like to say finding my why, I'm working towards it, but I would say finding my why would be when I'll be able to fully balance the 5 pillars in my life. And the 5 pillars are your business, your family, your personal self, your friends, and the society. All of these are 5 fundamental pillars of knowing yourself that you've reached that why. And each pillar is very, very important. Life is a very dynamic miracle. You learn along the way and you evolve along the way. So let's see.
And what do you think are the most important qualities of a successful person?
One is humility. I mean, it's great to have a vision and a dream, but you also must have a plan of action to be able to reach that vision and dream, and that willingness to be able to go to any extents to reach that dream. When I left college, right, my father sat me down and, I was a very good soccer player. And he asked me, so Rahul, what do you want to do? I was thinking that I'm a very good soccer player. Maybe I want to give it a shot. And what he said is that I have absolutely no issue in you following or wanting to do whatever you want in your life. But just remember, whatever you wish to do, be the best at it and don't settle for anything less. Now, if you are able to remember that and follow through with your ambitions, sky's the limit. Don't let anyone tell you that you cannot achieve what you want to do. But have a clearly charted out plan to be able to reach there. I can also tell you that world has evolved in such a way that there is always someone who is going to believe in your worthiness as well as believe in what you have created. It's a process of time, of finding that niche for yourself, but stay at it, and I'm sure you'll be able to achieve it.
And where can people go to find out more about what you and the CG is doing?
Go online. The world has become so small that you can just type a name and everyone can see what we are doing nowadays. But I think it all comes from people also noticing what all we are doing, and wonderful people like yourselves who want to discuss with us in our own humble way whatever we've managed to create and spread the news. I think where we would start on where they can read about what we have done is in your channel itself.
And is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't covered yet?
No, I think I've pretty much covered the 360. I hope that I've covered all aspects here of my humble journey and my humble life and where we want to be in years to come. The whole idea in anyone's life, it may sound cliche, but I believe that we are here for a purpose and we want to leave behind a legacy that people will remember and a legacy that has touched people's lives and something that people will always remember you for.